you so much, Marcos and son and family, for allowing me to come in. And this is a conversation, okay? I'm here to learn as well. My name is Mario Garcia. I'm an executive coach. I have my own private coaching organization. I met Marcos through the Tony Robbins organization because I'm a Tony Robbins coach as well. I'm one of the 100 coaches that Tony has from around the world, and we're privileged and honored to serve your organization, in this case, mine. Okay? So today we're just going to talk about conflict resolution. Has anyone never had conflict? Never? Never, right? No takers? Every day, from the time you exit your mother's womb, you're already in conflict. Because that's the first loss that you experience. Do you know that? When your mother takes you off her breast, second major loss. And then it just doesn't get better. But here's the good news. If you know the game, you can play better. And it's the game of life. And that's what I do. Because if we can't have fun, I'm taking my crayon somewhere else. That's it. But I've known conflict because at 17 I joined the United States Army. And so I served nearly 2 decades in the United States Army for private, and I retired as a captain. Along the way, really early in my career, I got married to my junior high school sweetheart, Wanda. And Wanda's a nurse. She's a cardiovascular nurse at Baptist in Miami. And we've journeyed together over 40 years because I met her when she was 12 and I was 14. And as a matter of fact, on the 23rd of this month, we're celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
So next month, May, because my son's getting married May 13th, so we postpone our little go away. But next month I'm taking her to Italy, and we're taking a 10-day cruise down the Greek Isles, and about 3 days in Rome. And that's my my story. We have 3 adult kids. One of them, Mario, was going to be here today, but we had another company that we had the service. It was one of our existing private clients that had a little crisis. Conflict resolution. So we're the people that get called upon when the crap hits the fan. Whether it's a company, whether it's an individual. I've been blessed to help people resolve even personal issues. I have a major company in the West Coast, for example. Last year, I was coaching the business owner, kind of like Marcos, really good guy, love him to death. And he gets on the phone, regular call, and he says, "Can we talk about anything that's not business?" And I said, "Sure. What's the conflict?" He says, "My only daughter got raped 2 weeks ago. Wow. She went out with some friends, and she stayed in the bar. The friends left her, and she woke up 3 days later, multiply raped, beaten and abused, and I just found out about it today." This is 2 weeks after the rape. So if it's your only daughter, right, and she's 24 at the time, what do? You want to kill somebody, you want to resolve it, you want to fix it. But the reality is that that doesn't do anyone any good. And so I was asked by him, how could I best support her? So I have a program in our coaching practice where we work with individuals who've gone through those, either natural disasters or domestic violence, or in this case, multiple rape. When crisis happens, and it happens a lot, we get called. And so we kind of consider ourselves a little bit of experts in conflict resolution, moving forward, human behavior, neuroscience, and that sort of thing. And I can tell you today, almost a year later, she recently found out she's going to be a mommy. She's in a wonderful relationship. She's blessed. Within 6 months in our program, we were able to exorcise the demons, because there's a lot of demons that come at us every day, aren't there? And with those kind of situations where you don't know who, what, where, the question always comes to mind, why me, right? So today we're just going to talk about a few concepts. It's going to be a little bit basic, but it'll give you tools that hopefully will empower you to take and master your emotions when you get hit by the storm. Now, I'm the type of guy that when the storm comes, I'm going to dance in the freaking rain. I'm not going to go hide for cover. Now there's people that will go hide for cover. There's people who get paralyzed. And there's people who are going to fight you. And in customer service in companies, we typically get confronted with the guys and gals that want to fight you, right? Been your experience? Right? Because they're going to go from executive management to reptilian brain. They're going to forget everything that's up here because they want it solved now, right? So we're working with something that we call the triad. So that's this right here. And the triad is all about state management. Okay? You know what state is? State of mind. Mindset. Okay? It's the ability to make an empowering decisions. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 women and 3 men, 4 men. So we're equally balanced. But a lot of times in companies we see more women than men nowadays, right? In leadership we still see a little bit more men, but now we're seeing women that are empowered as well. It doesn't matter what gender. This applies to every human being. How many of you have children? Right? I've got 3, they're all adults, and I've got 8 grandchildren. One of them is no longer with us, went to heaven. That was a conflict. That was a crisis. Want to know about it? I'll tell you a little bit about it. Why I do what I do. So, once upon a time, yours truly was running for circuit court judge. Because other than a neuropsychologist, I'm also an attorney. And it was the summer of 2008. 30 days before my election, I get a phone call from Wanda, my wife. You need to come to Children's Hospital and you need to come now. And I'm going, I'm right in the middle of my campaign. What's going on? She said, your daughter's only son is in crisis. That's exactly what she says. So I told my campaign manager, rearrange my schedule, I need to go now. Because she wouldn't tell me that unless it was true. When I arrived there, I found out the background of the story. My grandson was 2.5 at that time. Every 2.5-year-old that I know has had ear infections. Yes, absolutely. And at that particular point in time, he had been suffering through the ear infections for about 6 months. Normal. About 10 days before that call, he had the ear tubes inserted. Pretty normal. Drain the ears, right? Except we didn't know that during that operation at the hospital, he contracted pseudomonavirus. Pseudomonavirus will go into your bloodstream, and in an adult, it will take your life in 24 hours or less. Because they can't catch it. They don't know where it is. This young man, young child, fought for 7 days. What we didn't know is that unfortunately he was born with a genetic immune disease. It's called XLA. Because the doctors never tested for it. They kept giving him the same antibiotic. So for those 7 days, they're trying to figure out what's going on. We didn't find that out until about 2 years after. Here's what happens. He passes. What happens to me in my election? I lose. Of course. My focus is on grieving my family, my daughter's only son, her husband who's a mess, even though he was an ex-NFL football player. He's a dad first, right? My wife, my other 2 children, we're trying to keep that family. 12 months after I lose the election, my father dies. 30 days after that, my best friend. Now we're in 2009. What happened in 2009 in the United States? Financial crisis. I owned 5 companies at the time. A law firm, real estate and business, a mortgage company, a real estate company, and a title company. Are we talking conflict? What's the level of conflict in my life right now at that time?
Loss of
High.
everything.
Yes, plus. Yes? How do you navigate through conflict and be able to dance in the storm, in the rain? You really have to have some good mastery, some good anchors. And so companies are no different. You get maybe not those kind of severe, but they seem like they're that severe each and every day. And so if you do not know how to let conflict pass through you, you will do what? You will resist. You will defend. You will take out your pistolas. Right? That's the first human instinct. you're judging me. It's really not about you. You got to take yourself out of the equation. This is what I do. I go into what I call the position of the observer. Because here's what's true. What's true is that all of us, as long as we're breathing, we're getting between 2 to 3 million bits per second of stimulus. Million bits per second. Okay? With what you and I see and hear every day, with all this technology, it's even greater than that. So can you imagine a computer, 2 to 3 million bits per second, right? That's what the human computer is getting thrown at you. You and I can only handle 7 to 9 chunks of information at a time. That's why it's easy to remember a phone number. But we don't even do that anymore because we put it in automatic, right? So the human mind that receives that 2 to 3 million bits per second can only manage 134 bits, not millions, bits per second. That's 7 to 9 chunks of information. How do we deal with the rest of it? I'll tell you 3 things. You may want to write them down. Your mind will want to, first of all, delete information. Your mind deletes information.
Try not to delete my tasks or the things I put in the task manager.
Otherwise, guess what? You become overwhelmed. We call it distress. Right? How many of you have recently bought a car? Anybody recently bought a car? In the last 2-3 years?
Yeah.
Right? What kind of car?
A Nissan.
Nissan? What color?
Gray.
You love it?
Yeah, it's cute.
Before you rolled it out of the parking lot, right? Before you rolled it out, did you notice in the months before the same type of Nissan in gray color driving all around you?
No.
No. But when you rolled the damn car out, all of a sudden, everybody's got it. So here's the question. Is that true? No. No. But that's what your mind tricks you. Your mind will trick you. Why? Again, it wants to prevent the overwhelm. So we delete information that we don't believe is necessary. I'm going to show you how this applies to conflict resolution here shortly. Second thing it does is it distorts. The mind will distort the information. So you go to the movies with your significant partner and you see the same movie. One of you loves it, one of you doesn't. Same movie, right? Why? Different worldview. Different worldview. You will see some of the same things, but when you share the movies, did you see that? And you go, no, I didn't see that, because you distort it. It's like when you're on the computer and you're too fast for the computer, and the computer starts going, that's distortion. Same thing the mind does. And the third thing it does is it generalizes. Your mind will generalize. How many of you have husbands? Right? Husband comes home from work or from the gym, takes a shower, leaves the clothes en el piso. What do you tell him? You always leave your dirty clothes on the floor. Is that true? No. No. Right?
I don't do that.
You're at home, you're cooking, but you're also watching the novela. Husband comes home. Oh yeah, you're always watching the freaking novela. Is that true? No. Because if it were true, you probably wouldn't do anything else 24 hours. But the words always and never, the mind uses it to generalize.
Right.
And when you generalize, guess what? You judge. Or you're being judged. So, deletes, distorts, and generalize. This is exactly what your clients are also doing. This is what you do to each other in your relationships here at work. So if you take a step back, when you see the event happens, in neurolinguistic programming and conflict resolution, we like to say that the map is not the territory. Just because you believe it's real doesn't make it real. As a matter of fact, what you and I are consistently doing is we are creating our own virtual reality. So just because it's true for you doesn't necessarily mean it's really true. And so what we want to do is take the position of the observer, and you develop this like really quickly now. When you get the formula, it's very simple, it's 3 steps. You ask yourself, when you see or are experiencing something, is it true? Second question, is it true beyond a reasonable doubt? Now you've heard that before on TV. It's attorneys that are in a jury, and there's someone that's being charged, like O.J. Simpson or something, with a criminal act. It takes all 12 jurors to say guilty. If not, if one juror has what they call reasonable doubt, then he's not guilty. So when your mind is perceiving through the senses something, we call that an internal representation. What we see, what we hear, what we feel, what we taste, what we smell. Those are internal representations. Based on those senses, we make decisions. So when you see something or hear something or feel something, first question should be, is this true? Second question, is this true beyond reasonable doubt? Because now what you're doing is you're activating your judgment system from your executive management and saying, is this my virtual reality or is this reality in actuality? Now, your mind may still be tricking you. So you could ask yourself a third question.
Sorry, Berlin, what you said?
How you separate the truth from the truth beyond any reasonable doubt?
Third question.
Oh, okay.
Is there anything else that could be possibly going on here? Is there something else that could be going on that's not what I'm thinking, that I'm seeing? So what we say is, if we ask better questions, quality questions, to ourselves, we'll get different answers. We'll get quality answers. Is it true? Is it true beyond reasonable doubt? Or what else could be going on here? I'll give you an example. Wife comes home, husband's in the shower, cell phone's on the desk. She sees a text coming through that says, "Hi, honey." What does she do?
Go through the phone.
She would go through the phone. Would other people go through the phone?
Some may,
Some may, some may not.
Some may not.
Why?
It depends on the relationship.
What about the relationship specifically?
Trust.
Trust, yeah.
Thank you. It's the level of trust. So the level of trust in an organization is just like in a relationship. It's a family, right? Now, I know there's these crazy rules that when you hire people, you can't ask them these certain questions and that sort of thing. But once they become employees, they're kind of like families. It's kind of like when I was in the military. I had to trust the person in my foxhole to defend me when I was sleeping. It was my turn, and they were on guard. Otherwise, it could cost me my life. Well, here, there are other kinds of costs, okay? Because we're all responsible for carrying out what is known as the mission and vision of the organization, of the company, which affects the bottom line. Now, most people think that the bottom line is to make money. Not
Do
really.
you think any type of relationship should have a vision and a mission to be able to hold to that, to
Yes,
measure yourself?
absolutely.
You know? To measure the relationship, basically.
Absolutely. And you as an individual will want to have a declared and written purpose, vision, mission statement.
Right.
Otherwise, where are we going? Okay, very good question. I like that.
No, because sometimes, and I'm sorry, I don't know if I have, if it has to do or not, but maybe my own relationship, my own personal goals or mission and vision, it could be totally different than Jesse or than Shannon, you know. And of course, we're not going to agree because she chose a different path, different than me. And here in the company, we have the same vision and mission to follow together, you know. And sometimes this brings a conflict in the middle, right? Where you don't know if the vision and the mission of the company is the same vision or part of or the values that you have, you know what I'm saying? And it's very difficult to hire someone and test it, you know, because I can ask you what's your passion and your mission, and you can either lie to me or you don't have it very clear. I can also know that you don't have it very clear, and I keep needing an employee, you know?
I think that's valid only in the case you're hiring somebody whose values or his mission in his life is a lower standard than the standard you have as a company.
No, but when
Only valid for that, because if the person, let's say, is a priest, okay, that's fantastic, come to the company. You understand? So I don't believe the company has.
yeah, but maybe
lower
you don't need
standards.
a priest, you need a salesperson, you know, and the values will be important too. But
Very good question, because not having a clear stated philosophy, mission, vision, and core values of an organization can cause some conflict in the hiring process. So organizations that we work with and empower will start developing, if they don't already have, those pieces. Because you're absolutely right. In any family, husband and wife, maybe different cultures, even if it's in the same culture, different backgrounds, different parents, different values, different worldviews anyway, different personalities, different characters, but they can make it work. I can tell you in my own personal situation, my wife and I are at totally opposite extremes, but there are some core values that we believe anchor us together.
right, and that's the main point where you start the rest of the differences.
The strengths.
Right.
So perhaps to answer your question, and then we can move on, it's important to identify the uniqueness of each individual employee, because that's why you hire them, because they add or will add value to their position and to the organization. And that may be a foreign concept to some people, and I get that. But in today's economy, if you do not add value to your position and you think your position is just a job and a paycheck, you will become irrelevant. You will become irrelevant. And I don't know anybody in this room, I don't want to become irrelevant, ever. So I've got to foresee the future. So you have the unique values of the individual, just like in a family relationship, in a business relationship, but then you have those core values of the organization that each individual can align themselves with. And if they don't align themselves, they'll find themselves out. So I come into companies, and I'm not saying this one because we're just beginning a relationship, that don't have an established in writing core values, that their employees don't know what the vision is or the mission, and much less they don't have a vision for themselves as an individual. They don't even have outcomes. They don't know where they're going. You're going to have customers that are in the same boat. They are trying to make contracts or buy your product or service, and it may be because someone told them they needed to, or because you're giving them a better price point, whatever the case may be. But the reality is that in each member of the team, if you allow the conflict to cause you to react, you will lose your power. And most people think that the louder your scream or the louder your voice, the more power you have. That's not true. I've seen that, and I've actually done that in a courtroom. I had a case one time where I was representing a woman whose husband, as soon as she found out that he was cheating on her, she asked him for a separation. He got very angry, so conflict ensued, and he became violent. So unfortunately, she had to take other measures. Well, during the divorce proceeding, we found out he had hired a female attorney who was also very angry and violent. And when we went to trial, she was a screamer. So my client started to get worried because they were presenting the case. They were prosecuting. We were defending. He started siphoning monies. He started hiding monies from the businesses and all kinds of stuff. She thought, just like he did, that if they screamed more in front of the judge, that would make it true. And so on a break, my client was really concerned, and she pulled me off to the side on the break, and she expressed her discomfort. She says, "I'm really worried. You're not saying much. They're yelling. The judge is believing them." I said, "He who screams the loudest doesn't necessarily hold the truth. The law is the law, and the law is based on facts." I am very aware of what she's doing and her and his attorney's tactics. I'm also looking at the judge. I can tell you the judge will probably, in this next session, tell the client to shut up, or the attorney, because I can see that the judge is not buying it. She said, "Are you sure?" I said, "I am 100% sure. I can't guarantee you will win the case, but I am sure that we will present our evidence and we will win this conflict." And winning in a divorce is an anomaly. Nobody wins, right? You try to get the best win-win for each one. So the attorney went back up and she started presenting her case again, and she started yelling again. And what do you think the judge did? "Counselor, sit down." And the husband went like this. And my client looked at me and smiled. Because I predicted. I saw the behavior. So if you, when you're in conflict, can stay focused on what your outcome is, to add value, to service the client, or to negotiate a win-win situation when there's a conflict within the team, you will not give away your power. Here's what I know. In any conflict, the person with more certainty wins. In any conflict, the person with more certainty wins. Number two, in any conflict, the person with more flexibility also wins. So if you're certain of who you are and not allow what the distortions or what your own mind is telling you, okay, guess what? You will have the higher probability of the win. That is what we call creating what we call a triad of excellence. So in front of you, you have...
How do you measure if you win or you lose?
Well, that depends on what your outcome is, and I'll talk to you about that as soon as we finish up with the triad. That's a very good question. Could you hold that one for a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
How many of you have kids? Less than 5?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, less than 5 years?
Less than 5 years.
Oh, no.
How old is your child?
It's gonna be 2.
2? Oh, wonderful. Good stuff. I have 2 grandkids that are about to hit 3. They've already crossed that terrible 2 threshold. So, about 2 years ago, right before both of my daughters decided that they were going to have kids within 2 weeks of each other, and one lives in Chicago and the other one lives here in Homestead, we decided that we would plan to go to Chicago because her due date was first, and then if Erica, the one who lost the child earlier in the earlier story, decided to have her baby, then we fly down, you know, and hopefully it would all work out. So while we're visiting Melanie, my oldest daughter, and she has the baby Eliana, our only princess, we have 8 boys out of 8 grandchildren, 7 boys, 1 girl.
Wow.
Eliana's the only
Fun,
princess,
fun.
you know she's spoiled, yes. What happens is Melanie is breastfeeding Eliana. But Melanie also has a son called Lucas. And Lucas at that time was about to become 3. And so I'm in the kitchen, Melanie's with my wife, and they're breastfeeding the baby.